I'm going to start a little differently this time on NCCP Anywhere for the weekend of June the 14th. I'm going to give you some homework. Tonight, when you're sitting in your favorite chair or on your couch and you turn on your television, see how long it takes you to find reruns of Everybody Loves Raymond. Now keep in mind, it's been over 20 years since the last new episode of Everybody Loves Raymond aired. It went off the air in May of 2005. But so more than 20 years. Yes, here we are. There is nothing new under the sun. I am Pastor John Rudolph of the North Carroll Cooperative Parish, and welcome to this weekend's episode. When the final episode of Everyone Loves Raymond was recorded and prepared to be aired, Romano, after the last take, walked out onto the set and he spoke to the studio audience directly. He told them about a note that his brother had stuck in his bags just prior to him leaving New York to head out to Hollywood to begin that new adventure of this sitcom. He wrote, his brother did, "What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul?" As Ray is speaking this to the audience, tears are actually coming down his cheeks. And then he exclaims, "Now I'm going to work on my soul." Of course, his brother, what he had written on the piece of paper, was actually words from Jesus, from Mark chapter 8, verses 36, "For what will it profit them to gain the whole world and forfeit their life?" Poignant words to give advice to a brother as you're going out to do some hard work out in Hollywood. This is exactly, and I mean exactly, where King Solomon finds himself here by the time that we get to chapter 2 of Ecclesiastes, which I'll read for you now. "I said to myself, 'Come now, and I will make a test of pleasure. Enjoy yourself.' But again, this also was vanity. I said of laughter, 'It is mad.' And of pleasure, 'What use is it?' I searched with my mind how to cheer my body with wine, my mind still guiding me with wisdom, and how to lay hold on folly, until I might see what was good for mortals to do under heaven during the few days of their life. I made great works. I built houses and planted vineyards for myself. I made myself gardens and parks and planted in them all kinds of fruit trees. I made myself pools from which to water the forest of growing trees. I bought male and female slaves and had slaves who were born in my house. I also had great possessions of herds and flocks. More than any who had been before me in Jerusalem, I also gathered for myself silver and gold, and the treasure of kings and of the provinces. I got singers, both men and women, and delights of the flesh, many concubines. So I became great and surpassed all who were before me in Jerusalem, and all my wisdom remained with me. Whatever my eyes desired, I did not keep from them. I kept my heart from no pleasure, for my heart found pleasure from all my toil, and this was my reward from all my toil. Then I considered all that my hands had done, and the toil I had spent in doing it. And again, all was vanity and chasing after the wind, and there was nothing new to be gained under the sun." Now, of course, if you tuned in last week, you heard me reference this section from chapter 2, even though our reading last week was from chapter 1. As I mentioned, chapter 2 is really a first-hand account and a testimony of where and what Solomon had tried in his quest to find meaning in his life. And so you heard all the things that he had accumulated as he chased after them. So for this week, though, I'm going to concentrate really on that last verse of this reading, this verse 11. "I considered all that my hands had done, and the toil I had spent in doing it. And again, all was vanity, and a chasing after the wind, and there was nothing new to be gained under the sun. So certainly keep in mind all the chasing after of wealth and property and fun that we mentioned last week, and that's in those first 10 verses. But really focus yourself in on this verse. Nothing to be gained under the sun. But before we go too deep into that verse, I love the irony of this. Solomon, and this is not the first time, speaks of all the great toils that he had been involved in, all the hard work. But let's get real and let's name it. King Solomon probably in his entire life never got his hands dirty. He was a son of royalty, and of course the king himself. And so I doubt that he ever had to get into a garden and tend to his own vineyards. He didn't know what it was like to pull some weeds, or certainly as we have to do, weed whack and mow the grass and cook meals and do the dishes and fix things around the house. And that's all in addition to whatever it is our careers are. So when he speaks of toil and work, I kind of chuckle each time. Now that's not to say that being a leader of a nation is not work. But it is a wee bit of irony, or at least humor, as we're reading these stories. But the sentiment is still the same. He is worn out from chasing all of these things in life. And, like Ray Romano, Solomon here, at this point in the book, is naming all the things that he spent years working on. He spent years working on his kingdom, whether he got his hands dirty or not, his projects, his wealth, his reputation, his accomplishments. And so that is real, and he's given testimony to that. So then we're at this point in Solomon's life that maybe, or most likely, many of us tuning in this week can relate to at some point or time in our own seasons, that he discovers that while he has built all of these impressive things, he has neglected the deeper question of his soul. And so, yeah, he may never have dirtied his hands building a vineyard, but he has certainly exhausted his soul trying to find meaning in it. And so all these things that he's accomplished and accumulated, where's the meaning in that? And it's in this searching that he has exhausted his soul. And so that too is what Ray Romano is speaking to. Just imagine before even he had huge success on the sitcom, Ray Romano was a stand-up comic. So he traveled all around the country, trying to make a career of being funny. And the sleepless nights and all the travel. I mean, he was exhausted. And then even within the success of this show, that he still gets these checks every month, from these reruns. As happy as he must have been that his show was successful and had that long run, Ray Romano is in the same place as Solomon. What's the meaning of it all? And his soul was exhausted, and he needed to tend to it. And so Solomon here gives us a pathway to do so. The Ray Romanos of the world, the me, the you, whoever is wrestling with these same questions. And at times, it's all of us. So he's come to this contemplative place where, again, Solomon feels like he's chasing the wind. He's going to use that refrain over and over again. There's nothing new to be gained under the sun. Last week in the first chapter, it's nothing new under the sun, the title of our series. This week, nothing to be gained under the sun. And so there comes a moment when another project, another achievement, another success point isn't the answer. The deeper question becomes, what is happening in here? What's happening in my soul? So what's the point? More importantly, what is the antidote? Where do we go from here? That's the question that Ray Romano is asking on the set of his sitcom. It's the exact same question Solomon has put forth, and it's something that you and I have to wrestle with as well. Fortunately, we don't have to go very far in Ecclesiastes. We get the answer here in this same chapter. Skip a few verses, read those for homework, down to verse 24, where it says, and this is a turning point, there is nothing better for mortals than to eat, nothing better than that, to drink, and find enjoyment in their toil. This also I saw is from the hand of God. For apart from him, who can eat or who can have enjoyment? This is the old famous eat, drink, and be merry. Maybe you've seen that on a shirt or a bumper sticker or on X or Twitter, or whatever. It's a very famous line. And honestly, what Solomon is putting forth here is that, not that that's what we should do 24/7, but he's saying when you do that, just remember that it's a gift from God. So when we get to fill our bellies, or to have some enjoyment in life, to have some leisure, to get some rest from our toil, it's a gift from God. Those are not things to be chasing after. Like, I don't work the field so that I can drink and be merry. I get to eat, drink, and be merry, enjoy some life, because God has gifted me with these gifts. And so, this is a turning point for Solomon. Now, he's still going to wrestle with life's deeper questions and still going to do some work on his soul for the rest of his life, but the rest of this book for our case. But right now, early in these chapters, he has acknowledged that he has to learn to receive these gifts from God. And if we can imagine, any time in any settings where we've received gifts in our life, literal gifts like people have given to us, maybe even thinking back to your childhood or watching a child open Christmas presents, and a child who becomes obsessed with a gift eventually becomes disappointed. The law of diminishing utils or return. The toy breaks, the batteries die, or maybe even a new model appears they see on a television commercial. And that happens. And really there's kind of progression in life on that as we mature. And so that's really what Solomon is speaking to. Let's mature in our gift receiving. Because babies and little toddlers, they get obsessed with the paper, and they just want to open the next thing. And then as they get older, they'll play with the gift a little bit or use it and then discard it. And then as you get older, maybe to our age, you learn to really appreciate the gifts that people give us more aptly because we love the gifter or the giver of the gift. I don't know if I just made up a word there. But anyway, so Solomon spends much of his life staring at these presents and forgetting about giving thanks to the giver. Or, more importantly, he forgets who the giver is. And he starts to make this turning point now as we get to this verse 24. And so we can kind of put up verse 11, and if we're saying verse 24 is the antidote, we kind of look at them side by side. If verse 11 is life with clenched fists, like all this toil and all this work, verse 24 is receiving life with open hands and open arms. If verse 11 is, look what my hands have done, look what I have built, look what I have done with the work and the toil that I've put in, look what I've accumulated, all those I statements, that's verse 11. And that just leaves you exhausted, body, mind, and soul. Verse 24 is, look what God's hand has given me. And so it's the same gifts. It's just we've changed our perception. Solomon has changed his viewpoint. I didn't accomplish all this. These are all gifts from God. And as soon as you can make that leap and you can start to approach verse 24 in your life or in my life, you can begin immediately to feel some release and some relief in your own soul. You can feel your heart repairing and growing back together. If verse 11 is Solomon trying to own his own wind, if we're going to use that metaphor, verse 24 is learning to enjoy the breeze. There's nothing more right now in this time of year that Pastor Melissa and I enjoy than sitting out in our yard under the tree in our lawn chairs in the evening, and there seems to be always a breeze under the tree. And it usually comes after a long day of work. And we don't sit around the tree and say, oh man, look at what all I accomplished today. Look at all the things I did. Look at all the success and achievement that I ushered in through my toil. That would not be soul giving. That would just add to our physical exhaustion and make us mentally, emotionally, and spiritually worn out as well. What we do out there is we give thanks to God for another day's work and for all the gifts that he's given us. All the gifts inside that house and our children. All the gifts of being able to minister to the community. All the gifts of provision that God gives us. And then, finally, the gift of being able to just sit down and relax. Not in front of the TV watching reruns of Everybody Loves Raymond or Seinfeld, which we do enjoy, or the Knicks playoff run and championship excitement as we did last night, and we stayed up way too late, so we're exhausted. I don't think I'll have any chair time tonight. I think I'll have to go to bed early. But we give thanks. We give thanks to God for all the gifts that he's given us and for the source of all that we have. And so Ecclesiastes answers, if you're looking for ultimate meaning in what you've built, you'll spend your life chasing the wind. But if you receive each day, each meal, each relationship, and even your work itself as a gift from the hand of God, you'll discover what Solomon finally learned. You'll discover what Ray Romano was searching for. You'll discover what Pastor Melissa and I, every once in a while, get to that place under the tree when we just say, thank you. Meaning is not found in gifts under the sun. Meaning is found in the giver who reigns above it. So early, in the midst of what some would say a very pessimistic book, a little depressing life view, we get one of the most glorious statements. And I invite you to live into it with moderation, of course. Eat, drink, and be merry. And give thanks to God for all the gifts that he's given you. This is a little wind to set you on your sailing today. That's a goofy little ending that I probably should have eliminated. But anyway, let us and receive this word, because most of us, let's be honest, are feeling the weight of the world in terms of what we're chasing after as well. And we all need to just take a moment to get to this place, even if it's just for this day, to take a step back, to give thanks to God, and truly eat, drink, and be merry, and give thanks to God for these gifts. And so until we meet again, may God be with you in all your endeavors. Amen.